Yeah, it's just cloudy. It could be ashes. It's just a little browner than the normal cloud, but we don't know. We have to go left now. It's smoky in the cockpit at the moment, sir.
Imagine the engines of your plane failing one by one, the cockpit filling with smoke, and the ground rushing closer with every passing second. For those on KLM Flight 867, this wasn't a nightmare, it was terrifyingly real. On December 15, 1989, KLM Flight 867, a Boeing 747-400, faced a catastrophic in-flight emergency high above the Alaskan wilderness. All 4 engines failed without warning, leaving the crew and 245 passengers aboard in grave danger. Smoke filled the cockpit as the aircraft began a terrifying descent toward the Earth. With the rugged Alaskan mountains looming below, the crew's ability to restart the engines would determine everyone's fate. This is the story of KLM Flight 867. KLM Flight 867 departed from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport at 8:30 a.m., bound for Tokyo's Narita Airport with a scheduled refueling stop in Anchorage, Alaska. The aircraft for this long-haul journey was a brand new Boeing 747-400, the latest in aviation technology at the time. The 747-400, introduced in 1989, boasted a modern glass cockpit with 6 digital screens, replacing the analog dials of earlier models. It also automated many flight engineer functions, allowing the aircraft to be flown by just 2 pilots. Commanding this flight was Captain Karl van der Elst, a seasoned aviator with over 1,300 flight hours. However, like many pilots at the time, he had limited experience with the 747-400, logging only 100 hours on the aircraft. First officers Imme Vischer and Walter Vuurbom, both in their late 20s, rounded out the cockpit crew. The flight began uneventfully, climbing over the English Channel before heading toward the vast wilderness of Alaska. Unbeknownst to the crew, trouble was brewing thousands of miles away. The Redoubt volcano in southern Alaska had erupted the previous day, spewing ash and smoke high into the atmosphere. Although the volcano had temporarily ceased activity by December 15, the crew was warned of the possibility of another eruption as they approached Anchorage. Volcanic ash is a well-known hazard in aviation. 7 years earlier, a British Airways 747 encountered an ash cloud over Indonesia, causing all 4 engines to fail. Though the crew successfully restarted the engines, the incident highlighted how volcanic ash can wreak havoc on jet engines. As the KLM crew cruised toward Anchorage, they received news of renewed volcanic activity. Their mission became clear: avoid the ash cloud at all costs. After 11 hours of flight, the crew began their descent toward Anchorage. Clouds loomed ahead, but neither the pilots nor air traffic control could confirm whether these were ash clouds. As they descended through 26,000 feet, the first officer contacted Anchorage Air Traffic Control. Shortly after, the situation turned critical.
Yeah, it's just cloudy. It could be ashes. It's just a little browner than the normal cloud, but
The crew noticed the clouds ahead appeared slightly brown, an ominous sign. Moments later,
we don't know. We have to go left now. It's smoky in the cockpit at the moment, sir.
the aircraft entered the cloud and acrid smoke filled the cockpit. Realizing they had flown into volcanic ash, the pilots donned oxygen masks and informed air traffic control. To escape the ash, the captain pushed the engines to maximum thrust and initiated a rapid climb. Tragically, this decision exacerbated the situation. Volcanic ash, drawn into the engines, melted at the high temperatures, forming glassy deposits that clogged and suffocated the engines. One by one, all 4 engines failed. The aircraft became a glider, descending rapidly toward the Alaskan mountains. With no engine power, the cockpit temporarily lost electrical systems, plunging the crew into darkness as instruments switched to backup batteries. The captain made repeated attempts to restart the engines, but the efforts seemed futile. At times, partial restarts caused brief electrical disruptions, further confusing the crew. Meanwhile, the cabin was filled with an eerie stillness. Passengers smelled sulfuric ash and felt the unsettling sensation of the rapid descent. Outside, thick ash obscured the daylight. The crew's only hope lay in restarting the engines before the aircraft hit the mountains. Attempt after attempt failed as the plane descended past 300 feet. Time was running out. Then, as the engines cooled, a miracle occurred. The molten ash solidified and began breaking off, clearing the blockages. On the captain's 8th attempt, the left side engines roared back to life. With the aircraft at 1,300 feet, it was now partially powered, but the mountainous terrain demanded more. As they descended further to 100 feet, the remaining 2 engines restarted. The crew, now in control, turned their focus to landing in Anchorage. However, the ordeal wasn't over. The aircraft's windshield had been sandblasted by the ash, significantly reducing visibility. Air traffic control guided them toward the runway, and finally, the damaged 747 touched down safely. Upon inspection, the damage was staggering. Over 80 kilograms of ash were recovered from the engines, all of which had to be replaced. The cockpit windshield and wing leading edges also required replacement. The total repair cost amounted to $150 million in today's money. Remarkably, the aircraft continued flying with KLM until its retirement in 2018. In an ironic twist, its final flight was commanded by Walter Voorboom, one of the first officers aboard Flight 867. The KLM incident prompted major changes in aviation safety. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, established volcanic ash advisory centers, VAACs, worldwide to monitor ash clouds and issue warnings. Guidelines for pilots encountering ash clouds were also introduced, advising reduced engine thrust and quick course reversals to minimize damage. The survival of KLM Flight 867 remains a testament to the skill and perseverance of its crew. While the encounter with volcanic ash could have ended in tragedy, their actions ensured that all 245 souls aboard lived to tell the tale. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We have more incredible aviation stories coming your way. Stories of survival, bravery, and the mysteries of the skies you won't want to miss.